2, 1.
Mm.
Hello out there in the land of Facebook, YouTube, whatever land that you are watching, and welcome to another episode of Drumroll Live with Mz.KIR. Show your love. Thank you for taking the time out on this Friday, this hot Friday. It's hotter than a monkey tiny parts. Don't ask. Um,
Higher than fish grease.
Hotter than fish grease, hotter than chicken grease, okay? Hotter than it's just hot, okay? But anyway, we're gonna be breezy tonight, as we always are on Live with Mz.KIR, okay? Tonight we have two special guests. We have in the building, drum roll, LeDerick Horne. Show your love out there for LeDerick Horne.
All
And
right.
our other guest, drum roll, please. We have Linette Rabsatt, aka La Rabsatt, and
All right.
our three co-hosts tonight. Yep, we got a full house tonight. We got three co-hosts. Okay, drum roll for the co-host. We have Shai
Peace,
Moonlight.
y'all.
In the
Hey, hey.
building.
We also have in the building co-hosting Heru Akhet. Show your
All
love.
right. Haru. Roof, roof.
And my regular weekly co-host in the building, the Black Ed McMahon.
Yes, you are correct, ma'am.
Show your love for North Philly's finest.
Ooh, ooh, you got it.
And I am your host, Tanisha, aka Mz.KIR, capital K, capital I, capital R, the poetic lyricist, also known
Topra.
as Oprah. Shout outs again to Orlando Chandler and James
Topra's in
Ellerby
the
for giving
house.
me that name.
Topra's in the house.
I'm in the building. I'm in the building. So welcome, welcome, welcome out there. Barbara Sellers is in the building. She says, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening,
All
Barbara
right.
Sellers, and welcome. And welcome to her, whoever else is watching live with Mz.KIR tonight. Okay, in the tradition of the writer's block, long live the writer's block.
Yes.
Normally, I do the celebrity birthdays, but I don't really have my list, so I'm just going to say a few off the top of my head, and we're going to move along. Okay, for the celebrity birthdays, we have Prince.
Oh, when doves cry.
Um, and that's all I can think of right now. If you know any celebrity birthdays, that's today. You can type it in the chat. And now, drum roll for non-celebrity birthdays. Okay, for the non-celebrity birthdays, we have rest in peace to my grandfather, Henry Alton Jacob.
Rest in peace.
We also have for the month of June non-celebrity birthdays, my cousin, CJ Wright. Show your love for CJ Wright.
That's right.
I don't know where he's at, but show your love. Um, my son's nephew, Dorian. Show your love. He has birthday in the month of June. Let's see who else non-celebrity birthdays in the month of June. Oh, Karaja Yashar and uh, Taria Busby of the Writer's Block. So those are the non-celebrity birthdays for the month of
Okay.
June. Show your love.
Whew, I got
Okay.
two. Can I give my two non-celebrity June birthdays, Miss Kia?
Sure.
Okay. My baby girl, Jayla, will be 7 years old on Juneteenth.
Oh,
Oh, snap.
Yes. And my bestest friend in the whole wide world, Barbara, will be my
oh,
age on the 21st.
Oh, snap. Okay.
okay.
We
Well,
won't be as
happy to
specific.
them. Yes. And Kanisha Akra, aka Kanisha Love Taylor, is in the building. She said, "Good evening, everyone." And Kanisha was a guest on Live with Mz.KIR back in September of last year.
Yep.
Her and my peeps, Antoinette Gross. So show your love for Kanisha. She's in the building.
All right. All right. All right.
Okay, let's see. What other announcements do I have? Yes, Saturday, July 19th, folks. Saturday, July 19th, the Writer's Block presents Open Mic in the Park. Saturday, July 19th, 5:30 p.m. And the signups will start about 5:10, 5:15-ish. You can, if you're interested, you can also inbox me. And June 27th, it will be the online open mic. Because last week's open mic,
Oh my damn.
woo,
That
yeah.
joint was fire, son.
Okay, sun, 8 N's at the end. Sun.
Yes. That joint was
Okay. Shout outs to Linette
whew,
Rabsatt and North Philly and Maya the Bee. Woo!
Maya the
Maya the
B. Oh
Bee.
my goodness. If she
Heavenly
listening, I don't want
Harmonies.
no trouble.
Right.
I don't want no
Heavenly
trouble, Maya.
Harmonies. Lady Crucible.
Whew.
Nice.
No. Miriam Butterfly. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
And Miriam Butterfly. Shout outs to them.
I'll never look at ice cream the same. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wish that was the best ice cream I never had.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So,
boy.
um,
Clearly, I got some catching up to do.
Yeah.
so
Yes.
if you didn't see last week's online open mic, you need to check it out because it was fire, son. It was fire.
Fire. Ooh, Mount Vesuvius was just fire.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Jeez.
Now with that being said, in my DMX voice, let's get it on. What? Okay.
Grrr.
Yes, growl with me, folks. Growl with me.
Grrr. Let me stop.
Where my dog's at. um, so we're gonna introduce my first guest, Mr. LeDerick Horne. LeDerick,
Yes.
tell the folks out there in Facebook land, YouTube land, whatever land they're watching, who you are in my Mufasa voice from The Lion King.
Well, first of all, just thanks for having me. It's great to join everybody tonight. Um,
This is yeah.
I don't know. I wear a bunch of hats, right? So I'm a brother from Franklin Township. I'm a poet. I'm an advocate for people with disabilities. A professional public speaker, published artist. Um, husband, uncle, all those good things.
This is up.
All right, snap it up for LeDerick Horne, folks.
All right.
Where's the snaps in the comments? Okay.
Give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
And now for Lynette. Lynette, tell the folks out there in the land of Facebook and or YouTube, whichever land they're watching, who you are in my Mufasa voice from The Lion King. Lynette, remember who you are.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm Linette Rabsatt on Facebook, known as LA Rabsatt. I'm a wife, mother of two, human resources manager by day, but poet full time at heart. So my aim is always to inspire the world with my words, and my mantra is always to invest in what grows you.
All right. That's what's up. Uh-oh. Hello? Anybody still there?
I can hear you, but I don't know. I can't hear them either.
Oh
I think
man.
Tanisha may be stuck.
She might be
Yes.
think she's frozen.
And she's muted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Sure.
while we
Yeah.
waiting for Mz.KIR to come back, there's a few
Yeah.
celebrity birthdays I'd like to mention,
Okay,
starting with
drop it.
Tupac Shakur.
Okay.
Okay.
Happy birthday, heavenly birthday to the brother. This brother's a little controversial right now. He goes by the name of Ye. He's Ye now, but he's a June birthday.
Okay.
Zoe, what's her last name?
Salvadana.
Saldana.
Yeah,
Saldana.
Yeah.
she's also a June birthday. Shout her out. Morgan Freeman is
Okay.
also a June birthday.
Okay.
There's a few more, but Mz.KIR is back, so
Okay.
go for it.
Kizzy.
Okay. So,
All right, Miss Kim.
as I was saying before we had that slight technical issue, um,
Technical
Shai
difficulties.
Moonlight, for those who don't know who you are, let them know who you are. Remember, Shai Moonlight, who you are, and my possibly the Lion King.
Oh man.
I am Shai Moonlight. I am a poet, a spoken word artist. I'm a mother. I am a healthcare recruiter by day, artivist, activist. I am also an advocate for all people, but specifically Black women, um, single mothers, and parents of children with disabilities.
That's what's up.
That's the gist of it.
All right. And North Philly, tell the folks. They should know who you are, but if they're new, North Philly, tell the folks who you are. And my Mufasa voice from the Lion King. And can the rest of you guys mute your mics, please?
oh, oh man, North Philly's finest. If y'all don't know, the Black Ed McMahon in the house. I mean, spoken word artist, poet, author, advocate against gun violence in the city of Philadelphia, and also an advocate for peace on the streets of Philadelphia.
Awesome. All right. So now we're gonna get into it. We're gonna do LeDerick first, up to the stage.
All right.
All right, LeDerick, this is my question for you. LeDerick, when did you first fall in love with poetry?
Well, fall in love. Um, I think that I've always enjoyed language and the elevation of language. And that was even when I was a real little kid. And I think I wouldn't say it was love, but at least infatuation really began when I was a real little boy. My parents used to play records, like vinyl albums when I was a kid, and it was like a common ritual every weekend. And like as I'm saying this, I actually inherited my father's record collection, and so like I have all those vinyls now. But my folks love music from all kind of different genres, and so I got to just hear a lot of really good lyrics, particularly like singer songwriters, and in that mix with the last poets. And so I can remember at a very early age, my mother standing in the living room and, on the subway, I dug the man digging me. And you see, he was caught up into a state of confusion as to who I was. He thought he was seeing me, but me being me, Black, proud and determined to be free. You could clearly see my enemy, right? Like, when the revolution comes, like we recite that in my house. And so that was really amazing for me. I also remember really clearly being, I don't know, third, fourth grade, first year of The Simpsons. And The Simpsons Halloween special, the first time that came out, and it ended. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but it ended with James Earl Jones reciting Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. And it was Homer and Bart playing those characters. But it was James Earl Jones' voice. I remember going to my teacher at the time and being like, "What was that?" And so she directed me to some of Poe's work, and then growing up through school, I spent a lot of time with MCs. A lot of my friends were rappers, and they always sort of encouraged me to jump in the cipher, but I never really had the sort of mental dexterity to be able to freestyle. But I got to college, and I'm very dyslexic, and so the idea of writing, in particular my impairments around spelling, really prevented me from really writing. But I got to college at Middlesex County College, where I met Brother Heru, and I was a part of an excellent support program for students with learning challenges. And I remember very early on, the counselor I had at the time said to me, "Stop worrying about spelling and just write." And I began writing my first poem, staying up in the middle of the night writing my first poems. Went to there was a flyer somewhere on campus to go to an open mic in New Brunswick, on New Street, in a venue called Affairs of the Palette. And I got up on stage and I read my first few little corny poems, and everybody clapped. And I was like, all right, I want to do this some more. And so that's kind of like where the love story really begins.
Well, dynamite. Show your love, folks, for LeDerick Horne. Snap it up.
That's what's up.
Thank you.
Snap it up. Okay. Well, my other question for you, LeDerick, is do you use poetry as a form for when you're speaking and advocating about disabilities?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So um I I I really should keep better track, but several times a week I'm on a stage. I do a lot of keynotes at conferences, professional development days. Like recently I just spoke to every member of Newark Public Schools special education staff. I don't know, it was 850 people in the audience. Next week I'll be at James Madison University as part of a teachers academy. And through all the work that I do all over the United States and outside of the United States, poetry is always a part of it. So when I get on stage, first thing I do is a poem. Last thing you hear me say is a poem. Sometimes I'll have my audiences write. And I'm in a field where there are educators, there are researchers, there are academics, there are a lot of PowerPoints and spreadsheets and people trying to talk about the law and that kind of stuff. And I know that the power that I bring to this work is my own lived experience. And so poetry is a great way to be able to convey the emotional aspect of this, history, to really talk about where we sit now within larger movements, throughout history and social movements, political movements. So yeah, I always use poetry as part of the work that I do.
Okay. And with that being said, can you share one of your poems with us on this lovely Friday night?
Oh yeah. So during the pandemic, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA. And I was also I was reflecting on that and reflecting on the call for Black Lives Matter, social police reform. And so I wrote this piece called "Until Every Barrier Falls." And if you go to my YouTube channel, and I would encourage everybody, please take a look at it, hit a subscribe, but you'll see this video that we shot different sites in DC, one of which is at the Black Lives Matter Plaza that they just painted over. Yeah, I was glad that we were able to get that in before then. But this is called "Until Every Barrier Falls." I haven't done it in a minute, so hopefully I got it. Let's see. This is for the ones who would not be trapped behind exclusion's shameful wall. And this is for the ones who will continue to push until every barrier falls. This is for every wounded warrior who came home and challenged our grateful nation to elevate its expectations. This is for the ones that blocked the buses, sat in the sit-ins, and crawled to the Capitol. This is for the marchers, the protesters, those adapt angels with wheelchair wings who troubled the waters of their time so that this generation might live in a more inclusive now. As I write this, all over America, monuments are falling, and only questions stand atop each empty pedestal. As I recite this, I hope an artist is listening and will respond with marble and bronze. But until then, Ed Roberts, Judy Heumann, this poem is for you. Let each line chase the light in your smiles and trace the contours of your commitment. Let these words salute those dedicated to the ideals that equality sprouts from the branch of equity. Independence is a flower that grows from access, and freedom is rooted in the soil of advocacy. This is for the ones who have embraced the reality that humanity is both fragile and mighty. And when we ask for help, it is not a sign of weakness, but instead is an indication of our determination. However you navigate, it is legit. This is for those who read with their eyes, ears, and fingertips. This is for the minds that dance in detail, and for the wide-eyed ones who remake the world with every thought they think. We are the river of innovation from which the whole world drinks. And who am I? I am a lover of words, left heartbroken by every spelling test. In school, my desk was in a classroom at the end of the hall, so this poem is for me too. Within me is the meeting of two movements. I am Black and blue. My disability may be hidden. I am the descendant of those who could not hide. I am your neighbor, your countryman, one of the poets our nation has produced. And here is what I know to be true. This world is not enough. And if this here is what we call normal, I say, let's be different. Let us on this day celebrate every shape, every color, every way. Let our actions commemorate the array of our being. Build a future in service of the multitude, and let this century be the wilderness from which our better selves are born.
Okay, man. That was, yes.
Strong J. Strong J.
I'm definitely feeling that joint.
Show
Damn.
your love, folks, out there for LeDerick Horne. Show your love, folks.
That joint was absolutely dope. That was just,
Appreciate it.
that was absolutely dope, bro.
Thank you.
Indeed.
God knows it was.
So with that being said, Heru,
Woo.
you have a question for LeDerick?
I have two questions. Do you remember the poem we did together?
I don't remember the words, brother, but I remember the spirit. You go way back now.
I go way back, right?
Yeah. So
Listen,
go
I've been
ahead.
trying to
Tell him
find.
about it. Tell him about it.
I've been trying to find this poem. So, as
I
LeDerick,
got it. I got it. I know I
you
got it.
you got it.
It's at home. I don't have it with me here, but I got
Do
it.
you have both of our versions or just yours?
No, I'm willing to bet. Because okay, so you want to tell the story about the poem, or should I?
Okay. All right.
All right.
So, no,
All
you
right.
tell a story. You tell a story because we're featuring you today. So you tell a story.
Okay. All right. So me and brother Heru, both at Middlesex County College, we're both writers, both trying to, like make change on campus, right? A lot of like young, young, powerful brother energy. And we kept noticing, the other brothers just in the student center playing cards all day long, right? Like not going to class, this and this became like an issue on campus. Like these cats playing spades and not going to class and failing out. So we wrote this piece together, spades playing themselves.
Right.
And
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
and what was it, brother Anthony Jimenez? He took some photos of us dropping
Right.
it, and that's what I know. That's what I have. We put it like I don't know, just two pages, just 2 or 3 pages stapled together. But it was Anthony's photo, and then our poem. And I think I'm pretty sure I still have a copy of that. Yeah, and then I don't know if you remember when we performed it the first time. We were at the student center.
Yes.
It was probably brothers. Like it was like, oh, we got a mic. You know, we got up
Yes.
there. There was something going on, but there were cats playing spades when we were on stage. And so we got up there and we had somebody behind us as we're doing the poem. They're throwing cards into the audience.
That's pretty cool.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that might have been Rashawn. I think he might have been Rob doing that for us.
Might have been Rob.
But it was very inspirational. And I have to let you guys know, as long as I knew LeDerick in poetry, I never knew that he was dyslexic. So as he will tell you, he was going through things. It never showed in his performance, and it never showed to anyone visually. And so I can hear it in the poetry that even though your disability isn't noticeable, and that might have been a struggle for you, we have to give you praise and props for the way that you maintained yourself all through school. And we're definitely proud that you're part of our legacy and our lives. So thank you. That was part of my first question. Second question was, you said the place that you performed at was Lenova. What was the place?
It was Affairs of the Palette. I don't know if you remember that. So
I remember it.
On New Street in New Brunswick.
Yes. What was the name of Free's show that we used to go to and we were part of?
So I went to the very first one that Free organized, and then he recruited me to be a part of it. I don't know if it was first called this, but I think we called it Homo, and or Homo, and it was sort of like in honor of giving back to your environment so that it can give back to you. And Brother Ra used to draw all of our flyers, and I still got some of those. So. And okay, keep going, brother. I can keep talking.
No, this is for you. We want to hear from you. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a learning disability. I'm dyslexic. I was placed in special ed when I was in the 3rd grade. Struggle with reading comprehension, easily distracted, executive functioning skills. And like going through the school system with a neurological makeup like that, it is not uncommon for someone to carry a lot of shame and embarrassment. So I wrestled with a lot of that throughout school. I ended up having an emotional breakdown when I was a junior, and through a lot of resilience, a lot of support, I got out of that and just had this crazy idea. I didn't know how, but I was going to go to college. So I went to my IEP team and started articulating that to them. And they recommended me that I go to Middlesex County College because they had a marquee and excellent disability support program called Project Connections, a program that now is not available anymore. The university still provides disability supports, but it's not the same sort of wraparound program. And so, Heru, when you met me, you know, I was wrestling with a lot, right? Like I was on this campus, not knowing if I could do it or not, right? Like not knowing if I could go to school. Like I was the captain of my high school cross country team. I stopped running. I could have done like all that stuff at college, but I knew it was going to take everything that I had and then some just to make it on campus. And the stats around, like only 10% of all high school students with learning disabilities even step foot on a college campus, even go to college. And then like less than 2% of us actually graduate with degrees. So the stats are like, they're really sad. And I remember someone saying that you had a greater probability that as a high school basketball player, you'll play in the NBA than as a high school student with a learning disability, you'll get a college degree.
Wow.
So it was, you know, when I was there and you and I were first connecting, like, you know, I was going off to this center that was in the basement of Raritan Hall, getting support getting my tests read to me. I was taking my tests outside of class. I was using Windows 95 or 96 or whatever it was, the very early forms of spell checkers to help me to spell checking with the little red line to help me with my spelling. So all of that, I was getting all that support. And I was also in that space with other students and counselors, and they were helping us to form what had really been missing my whole life, was a positive identity around being neurodiverse, right?
Yes.
At the same time, I'm connecting with brothers like you, brother Rasan, brother Bill Davis, Les, like brother Dunning, and also helping me with, what does it mean to be a Black man on college campus? Because that's a whole other set of challenges as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I was, I firmly believe in mentoring, right? I think like none of us need to try to get through all this stuff on our own, right? And like community is very powerful. And so I was fortunate that I had like a bunch of older brothers who were like mentors and supportive. And then I also just had this amazing community of peers, of which Heru was one. And we would go to this open mic. We would go to a bunch of open mics. We were in out of New York, we were in a whole bunch of different spaces. And it was amazing for me because I became supported and celebrated as a writer, right? And spoken word was great, right? Because it's not like anybody's like reading my work. No one's like, yo, let me check your spelling, right?
Right.
Right. It's just like,
exactly.
you just write your joint, you memorize it, or you looking at your own page and you get up there, and you do your thing. And so it was great to be celebrated and be able to give back and be surrounded. And Heru, I don't know if you noticed, but so, that block on New Street got demolished, taken by eminent domain, demolished. And then they put up a dorm for Rutgers University and a parking deck.
Yes.
And so after Middlesex, I go to New Jersey City University. I graduated with honors. I got a BA in mathematics and a minor in fine art. I start speaking in Jersey. I worked with the New Jersey Department of Education's Office of Special Education. I was the MC and keynote speaker for the Dare to Dream student leadership conferences we do every year. And these are like great events. And I don't know if there are any educators from Jersey who are on the stream here listening, but if you really want to send your students to an empowering event, I would highly recommend find the Dare to Dream conference. They happen every spring. So go check those out. And they're on the college campuses, and they, bus kids in, and then for a full day, they're hearing from experienced people who, have disabilities, but then they're going into workshops and learning how an IEP meeting should run, what it means to be a self-advocate, and all the content, both the main keynotes and then particularly the workshops, all that content is delivered by other high school kids with disabilities. So it's like an incredible experience. But I did that for a while, started speaking, recorded and put an album out. And then someone from Crossroads Theater's board of directors caught a copy of my album and said, hey, would like you to do a show. And so me and a bunch of other artists got together, and we actually constructed a play called New Street Poets. And it was based on the experience of performing at this Black-owned venue that eventually, was threatened by eminent domain and closed down, which is like a story that happens in urban centers and even rural centers all over America. The threat of eminent domain and the destruction of spaces that, artists make cool, oftentimes develop, we're the first wave oftentimes of gentrification, we create the spots that then, the yuppies and what have you want to go to. So, we put that play out. We had it at Crossroads Theater, really workshopped it at Crossroads. Susan Tuttle really threw all of our weight behind it. We sold out night, it was great. And then we developed the play a little bit more, took it to New York City's Fringe Festival. It was up and down the East Coast, DC. Yeah. So like, yeah, and it was like a great way to pay homage to what New Brunswick was, like back when, like we were out there, like really doing the open mic stuff. Yeah, and just like, and then pay homage to how loving and supporting that community was to me personally.
All right, Mz.KIR, that's good. I get 2 questions. My 2 questions. I hope that
All
was
right.
good.
All right, Heru. Okay, we're gonna go to the comments real quick. Donna Banks is in the building. She says, "Hello, everyone," and she gave 1, 2, 3, 4 snaps for you, LeDerick. My mom, Barbara Marie, is in the building. She said, "Excellent, LeDerick," and gave 1, 2, 3 claps, 2 thumbs up, and 3 fire emojis. Barbara Sellers said, "Damn, that was deep." And Donna Banks said, "LeDerick, what did you take at the college?" Oh, yes, Latasha Jemerson is in the building. Hey, Latasha, welcome. Christopher Blackman gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fire emojis. Tawana Wilson is in the building. Welcome, Tawana. She said, "Good evening, everyone." Excuse me, Latasha Jemerson, who is awesome sauce. She says, "I'm an educator from California. Thanks for sharing, LeDerick Horne." She said, "Dare to Dream. I'll check it out." She gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hearts. Barbara Sellers said, "Just wanted to say good night and have a nice weekend." Good night, Barbara Sellers. Latasha Jemerson said, "Thank you, Mz.KIR, the poetic lyricist." You're welcome, Latasha. And she also said, "Thumbs up." So now we're going to go to Miss Linette Rabsatt, who was on last week's online open mic. Yes.
Yes.
Woo, that was fire. Fire. So, Linette, can you share a poem with us? And then I'll ask you a question.
Sure. This poem is called Arrest. It's one of my earlier pieces. It's originally published in Virgin Islands, Callaloo, Poems from the Caribbean. I've never done well on my own. My future seems like it's almost gone. As much as I try to succeed, depression kicks me at the heels. Surely I've seen greatness and I have exercised excess patience, but the troubles of my life seem to multiply my strife. I feel I can't survive. I feel the stress of being alive. There's no sign of deliverance, toiling hard for a mere pittance, believing there'll be a promotion, but the only promoting is a notion. Some say I should feel blessed, but my life's been an empty nest. I do appreciate my surroundings and I have received free higher learning, but my definition is clouded and my eyes have been shrouded. I never learned about responsibility or the hardships of raising a family. I let people dictate my life and use my talents as their device. And now that I'm depressed and stressed, I face my time under life arrest. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful. God knows. Once again, his own son.
Yes. Yes, Lynette.
Whew. Love that,
Yes.
Lynette.
Okay, Lynette, I'm getting into my Topher vibes.
Topra's in the house.
Okay, so Lynette, if you were to do a time capsule, excuse me, what would you put in it?
I think that's a tough question because I love to hold on to memories. Like I still have my report card from, well, I'm in the Caribbean, so we go to primary school. That's the same as elementary school. I still have things like that. I still have my children's first drawings that they did in preschool. So I think I would need a very big time capsule because it's so much memories and so many beautiful things. The lady that I grew up with, I still have a copy of her old passport, her old social security card. So that's a difficult question because I could be a little hoarder when it comes to those special memories and those moments. So that's a tough one. Lots of emotions come as I say this. It would be a lot of stuff.
Okay. Um, Shai Moonlight, you have a question for Linette or LeDerick or both?
Oh, I got an option for both. Yes, I do. Okay. I'll start with Miss Linette. Do you have a specific writing process? Is there anything, do you wait for inspiration? Do you assign or schedule time to write? What is your normal process for starting a new piece?
That's a good question too. My process is all over the place. So I do several different things. In the past, I used to, just try to write something every day, but obviously you don't always have the inspiration. But since I've gotten a bit older and a bit more into social media, I've relied on a lot of prompts that are shared. Like I'm in a
Mm,
few Facebook groups, accessibility arts. I'm in cultures of art, prose and stories. I'm also in Ali in Pen and in Legendary Ink, and they share prompts, and I'm able to develop quite a bit of my writing around those prompts. I also submit poetry to different journals and magazines, and if they have a theme, I try
yeah.
to write along those themes as well. But from time to time, sometimes just having a conversation with my friend
Mm-hmm.
Deidra or with my friend Tanisha, we may say something and it's like, I should probably write about this. So the
Yeah.
inspiration may come from it could come from nature because I'm into gardening. I have a garden. I have my fruit trees. So sometimes just seeing a lizard outside or
Yeah.
seeing the butterflies that we don't see very often, that in
Mm-hmm.
itself is a lot of inspiration. So my writing process it's kind of all over the place, but typically, like if somebody shares a prompt in the morning, if I see it, I try my best to at least, even if it's a haiku, even if it's a tanka, even if it's like an acrostic poem, I try to
Yes.
pen something every day just to keep the inspiration flowing and to build my collection that's about 900 plus right now.
Mm.
Ooh-wee.
Nice. Nice.
Absolutely.
She
Thank you.
she going deep.
Right. A catalog, if you will.
Yes.
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 Unparalleled.
Okay, Lynette. Okay. All right, we're
All
gonna
right.
go
Oh,
back
Miss
to the
Kier, I'm
comments real
sorry.
quick. Sorry.
No, no, no,
Um,
you're fine.
Poets and spoken word is in the building. Hey, girl,
Oh, poessence.
Poessence gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 finger snaps. Tawana Wilson said that was beautiful, and she gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 finger snaps. My mom, Barbara Marie, said, "Girl, loved it," with 1, 2, 3, 4 hearts and 1, 2, 3, 4 clapping emojis. And Poesson said, "Great question, Shy." So those are the comments so far in the comment section. So I'm sorry, Lynette, what were you going to say? Lynette?
Oh,
Yeah, I
she
wasn't
froze.
adding
Oh, there
anything
she.
else.
Oh,
Oh,
that she froze. Whew.
okay. All right. North Philly, do you have a question for Lynette or Lee Derrick or both?
Yeah, I got a question for both Derek and Lynette. Want to say what's up to y'all first and foremost. Um,
What's up, bro?
so when it comes down to like, I've heard your inspirations and your incomparable stories, and man, I know that everybody in Facebook land is totally impressed. Um, when it comes down to your subject matter, what is your most engaging subject matter that you talk about in your poetry, respectively?
Mm. Um, so much of what I write now is sort of connected to my work, right? My advocacy work, particularly as it relates to improving the outcomes of young people with disabilities and working to reform our schools and just, create more inclusive schools. So I think a lot of that, and but like I wrote a piece not too long ago, a while back, that I'm proud of, which was like a tribute to my grandmother, who's now 99 years old.
Oh man, God bless her.
Yeah, and it was just sort of a nod to family. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not like I like the flowers and that kind of stuff. I don't tend to want to write like a lot along those lines. And I think so much of that is kind of informed by those early experiences, by the last poets and Gil Scott-Heron and me kind of coming to poetry and also like a love of hip hop that is of a genre that was very political, right? And so and so poetry for me, like more than anything, I want to like, I'm trying to make the world a better place for a little bit of the time that I'm here. And so that's really kind of like the focus of the work.
That's dope in itself. That's really dope.
Thank you.
Yeah. Linette?
Power to real hip hop. Power to real hip hop.
That's right.
Well, for me, my work spans different themes and thought processes. I think earlier on, I probably was a bit more like LeDerick, where it was about the stress, the struggle, the challenges, and calling people to action. I still write those types of poetry as well too, because that first piece, Arrest, it's a simple piece, but it said a lot. And I know a lot of people face challenges in their life, but I've kind of spread my wings a bit. So I do go more along the nature. And I don't, for some strange reason, I don't write a lot of love poetry, but I've started to test the waters of love. Um, I I'm religious, so I write spiritual poetry. I write poetry about Mother's Day, Father's Day, the different activities that are happening. And of course, I am 100% Caribbean. So I have to write from the Caribbean perspective as well. Because we face, the same kind of challenges. But because of my job, certain things I wouldn't say in my poetry because, that's against the policies. And I am the HR manager, so I should set the right example, right?
Okay.
But you could always use your poetry as creatively as possible. So I could write about the chickens having a revolution. You could use, I use
Metaphor.
nature to be able to speak about the issues without, getting myself into trouble.
Okay. So that will bring me to my next question for both of y'all. So, being that as it is, you don't want to be too controversial, but like you said, Derek, you mentioned Gil Scott-Heron and the last poets, which they were like exceptional griots in their respective manner. My question would be with both of y'all would be so when you are giving your poetry to the masses, what is your expectations, if any, that you expect to get from people that you're relaying your poetry to?
Wow. I don't know if if I'm whether it be recording or if I'm standing up in front of people, whether I have an expectation. I mean, like, you hope folks listen, but listening kind of takes all kind of forms, like
Right.
I'm sometimes the high school assembly guy, right? And I've done that all over the United States, right? And sometimes they just like call a bunch of kids and it's like, okay, these are the ones that we have a rough time with. You go talk to them for an hour, right? And there, I've had plenty of times over the two decades plus of my career, where I walk into a room and you got 2 or 3 kids who just have their back turned to you, right? Or head down, you know. And you know, I am never like, you know, hey, I'm up here, respect me. Like I don't roll like that. You know, it's like, yo, I'm going to do my thing. And, you know, like I know I have something like compelling to say. And I also was that kid, right? So like I know what that feels like. I know what to be emotionally exhausted and not have, you know, like I don't want to listen to anybody else. And then it's not what I really expect of them. It's what I expect of me. And what I expect from me is that I'm supposed to be honest. I'm supposed to be compelling. I'm supposed to be prepared. Right. And I find that when I show up like that, that kid with his head down, or the kid that starts the hour we're together with his back to me, is going to turn around. And oftentimes, you know, I've even, you know, like we're going to talk afterwards. Right. And they're going to want to talk. So yeah, I don't know if I have, you know, too much more than that. Now, what I will say is, excuse me, and I think I bring a bit of a different energy when it comes to educators, right? Because I'm also sometimes the professional development guy. And so it's like, you know, and I'll say to teachers, you know, you got folks that have been doing this work for decades, and it's like the folks that usually get called in to present to these professionals, they're usually very corny, right? They're like really not interesting at all. And so I will say that to my audience, right? Like, okay, we're gonna be together for 4 hours, right? You know, I know that this usually is horrible, but here's what I need you to do. I need you to not be checking your email. I need you not to be, you know, like grading papers. You're not all sitting in the back of the room. Like, treat me like, you know, like act like you were in class and a student, right? Like, where's your writing utensils? Because I'm going to say some stuff that you're going to want to take notes on. And you know, and then I'll also, I do like the Babe Ruth thing, like point to the outfield, and I'll say like, and I know someone's going to come up to me and say that I am the best presenter you've ever had in your school. I'm going to tell you that right now. And that's what I expect, right? Like, that's how I expect to show up. And you know, and that's the energy that I try to bring when I'm in the room.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Linette?
Good question there, North Philly. Okay, I see you trying to get into your Topher vibes.
I'm channeling you, Mz.KIR. I'm channeling you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
You know,
It's
I learned it from
definitely
watching you.
okay, snap it up. Okay,
it's
Lynette.
yes, it's definitely a good question. I mean, I've performed for different groups of persons. So, of course, the pieces that I would bring here tonight are different to what I would present at, let's say, for World Poetry Day. We visited some of the primary schools. So I had to tone down the work a bit to be able to connect with the kids. I had to use, visual poetry so they could see what the acrostic looked like and explain it to them versus going to the high school kids where you could do a little bit more hip hop type of chanting type of poetry. Then of course we have government events or an event in church. So I try my best to cater the work when I'm sharing it on the stage based on the audience that I have in terms of their reactions. What I'm trying to evoke, it's if it's all about love, then I'm trying to evoke love. If it's all about spirituality, I want people to think a bit more deeper and connect with whoever they love as their creator. When it comes to the government type events, it would be based on the theme of what is happening. And of course, as LeDerick said, you want to make sure that you connect with your audience. So if connecting with the audience means that I have to do a piece that gets them to participate by repeating a word and giving them that word to repeat during the poem, then I would do things like that. But I definitely would want people to be inspired by what I say. I'm hoping to, call people to action, call them to wake up, call them to love, call them to help each other a bit more. Because, as I said before, everybody faces their challenges, and poetry is quite a vehicle to inspire people. I always say, because we're from the Caribbean, so calypso is, one of our earlier genres, and that's where the calypsonians used to talk about the politics. And I think I've been influenced because I love music too, Derek. I love music. Never had the records, but my radio was my best friend.
Okay. All right.
So, I have poems where, just dedicated to Michael Jackson or just dedicated to Bob Marley, where I play with the lyrics and the song titles. So the
Okay.
inspiration is there, but we want people to enjoy our work and to listen and, of course, make that call to action. So if that call to action is to love above the label, so whether you're dyslexic, whatever is going on in your life, we still love you. We're still supposed to champion one another. Because, like I said before, we're supposed to inspire the world with our words. We have that talent. So, to all the poets listening out there, regardless of the genre, even if it's erotica, whatever it is, just inspire people to just be their best selves, love themselves in whatever situation that they're in, and just, love yourself. That's where it
That's
starts.
right. I love that. That's stupendous.
Agreed.
Stupendous.
Agreed. Okay, we're gonna go back to the comments real quick. Black Ice is in the building.
Oh snap! My man. What's up?
Oh, show your love, folks, for Black Ice, who was a guest on Live with Mz.KIR back in February. Okay, it was breezy. Okay,
Oh my goodness.
Deep
Breezy was
Essence and North
breezy.
Philly and Black Ice. We was breezy back
I'm
in
not
February.
telling you.
Okay, we was breezy.
Goodness. One of
Yeah,
the best shows ever, gang. God,
yes,
it
hands
was.
down, indeed.
Whew.
So welcome, back, Black Ice. Uh, you reminded me about the poetry awards, but I don't remember specifically what you said. Can you type it in the chat for us, please? And
Yeah,
while he's doing that, LeDerick, can you do another poem for us?
that's what's up.
Yeah, no doubt. I mentioned that poem from my grandmother, so I'll do that one. So this is called the first and rarest gift. And when my grandparents were courting, I guess, my grandfather wrote a poem, and the first and rarest gift is a line that I lifted from that poem. And so it goes: the first and rarest gift is love. It is a light, a kiss, commitment, promises whispered, a touch gentle. We are because those before us dared to love, to step forward together out from Pharaoh's land into a future unknown. We are that future. Within each of us, there is a promised land. Our bones are made strong by our grandparents' belief. Our skin still carries the warmth of a sun-filled sky. It's been a roundabout way. At times, the road was hard, but somehow we found a path. We always had enough, and we still fly. We still fabulous. We still shine like grandmother's smile, still shine like candy paint on summer's day, still shine like the gold of wedding rings, still shine like the love that pulled us through. A cloud by day, fire by night. Even with a mask on, you can see our light. Even at a distance, we stay in touch. Through post, we share our prosperity. Through the phone, we answer a call for support. Through screens, we meet newborn sweet babies. The dream was tested, but not deferred. The turntables might wobble, but our music kept playing. Through it all, our hearts kept dancing, and we still fly. We still fabulous. We, the twist, the braid, the wavy straight fade. We, The cage bird song, phenomenal, beloved, the ones who still speak of rivers, we, the dark brown, light tone, cocoa sweet descendants of tears and triumph, we, the gamblers, penny stake players, $2 birdies, hustle and the joy, we, the workers, hands made rough from plow to factory, from blackboard to emergency room, from office space to hair salon, we, the draped up and dripped out, riding slow, deuce out, we, voices seeking grace, praying for mercy, lifted in praise and song, we are that song, that poetry, the lyric living, humanity's rhythm, a people dipped in the blues, we are family. Yes, yes, y'all, we are family. In my grandmother's house, there is love, the first and rarest gift. That love lives in each of us. It is our inheritance, our light. It is the connection that connects us all.
Boy.
Wrap it up, folks, for LeDerick.
Fire,
In the
man.
building.
Yo,
Okay, wrap it up.
I'm trying to tell you that, man, hotness, man.
Okay, and back to the comments.
Damn, boy.
Poets and Spoken Word said yes. Latasha Jimerson said 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balloons. And Donna Banks gave 1, 2, 3, 4 finger snaps. Not one, not even 2, but 4. Okay. So show
All
your
right.
love out there, folks, for LeDerick Horne and Linette Rabsatt. They're in the building tonight on Live with Mz.KIR. For
That's
my
right.
great co-host, Heru Akhet, Shai Moonlight, and North Philly's finest. We breezy tonight on this
Yes.
Friday night. Yes.
That poem was hot, son.
Okay.
Dang.
Love that poem, LeDerick. Took me back with that hip hop, okay?
Trying to tell you.
I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
my mother's from Houston, so some little Houston references in there as well. Yeah.
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Dynamite. Tawana Wilson gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 finger snaps and said that was beautiful. Indeed, it was. So, Shai Moonlight, do you have a question for Linette or LeDerick or both?
I have a question for LeDerick. You mentioned your neurodiversity. I have a very neurodiverse household. I have 2 children on the spectrum. My 18-year-old daughter brought to my attention how it manifests a bit differently, especially in Black women and girls. And so, listen, all of us over here, it's very neurospicy over here.
That's right.
And so, especially for my 10-year-old son, I'm really trying to encourage him to do the things that he loves. And of course, there are some adjustments that have to be made. This being something that you've dealt with for a good bit of time, have those things become second nature to you? Are these kind of practices that still take work? How do you push through the difficulties that come with your disability to continue to do the work that you do?
You know, it's that's a great question. And thank you for sharing so much about your household and how everybody's rolling. So there's a few different pieces to that, right? So one is that so much of stuff I worried about when I was a kid, like you don't even have to worry about no more, right? So, you know, you got to learn to spell all this stuff, right? You got to learn how to write cursive, right? Like you got to memorize all these math things because you're not always going to have a calculator. And now I got a supercomputer in my pocket that I can speak to and will spell any word I need spelled, right? That will do the arithmetic that I struggled with, right? You know, so like, and even now I am, you know, and this is really speaking to how technology is like a huge tool in being able to leverage a lot of the challenges we have. Another thing that a lot of us deal with is, you know, what we call executive functioning issues. So it's knowing how to start and stop tasks and that sort of thing. And so one of the very early skills they taught me when I was a part of that disability support program and in college was just time management skills, how to use a calculator. And back then it was like a paper calculator, right? So like one of the things that has now been ingrained in me is that like if I don't write it down, it's not going to happen, right? So I don't care if I have to stop the conversation and say, okay, what you just said to me is important, so I have to make a note. I have to put it on the calendar. And utilizing electronic calendars is powerful because it means that like the team that I work with, they can have access to it. They can put things on my calendar. I can also build in alarms and things along those nature. The things that, so I've got a lot of workarounds, and what I have found is for young adults and adults who are successful, most of us figure out the supports for our quote unquote disabilities, right? Like the stuff that's like really core and manifest, from our disabilities. The thing that most of us wrestle with and which will prevent most of us from moving forward tends to be mental health issues, right? It is the feeling that you're not enough, you're not good enough, right? Like that will oftentimes cut people off from even accepting support or reaching out for support or utilizing some of these tools. There's this sort of just like, I'm gonna do it my way, I'm gonna figure it out, I don't want to ask for any help. And for some people that works, and like more power to you, but I can tell you that that's exhausting. And I can also tell you that statistically, particularly if you try to like approach something difficult like college, and oftentimes even like depending on how ambitious you are, a career or building a business, like just doing it all your own, a lot of us fail. We're going to fail. And so, like what made a huge difference for me was one, connecting to a community of people who are like me. Right. So like, like I got a YouTube channel. If you think it's helpful, like I put stuff up there so that like moms and other people can like say, hey, here's an example of a guy, who is like you. I have an entire playlist on there called Celebrating Black History and People with Disabilities. And I think there are a total of 11 videos, and they're real short, but it's me just saying like, here are Black folks from all over the world with all kind of different backgrounds that I'm inspired by, and I want y'all to know about. And it's people on the spectrum, it's people with dyslexia, it's like, all kind of folks. Yeah. So that, and then the other piece of it is I'm a big therapy advocate. Right. And I think every human being should have the experience of going to therapy. I think every single one of us should go at least one time. Go, and if you never want to come back, then you never have to go back. But I think we should all have the experience of knowing that it's something that is available for you, because again, this world is very challenging. That is true for people with disability. That's true for people of color. It's true for women, right? Like you tend not to pass through this life and not be scarred in some kind of way. And oftentimes we experience things that are so challenging that we need a professional to help us unwind those things.
Right.
And so therapy, first sort of informally, but then very formally in my adult life is what has really opened up the world for me. I would say even, only within the past 7 to 10 years have I felt like I wasn't in survival mode anymore.
Wow.
Like, and it doesn't mean like I don't have rough days, but I can feel it, right? I can like, Sister Linette, like, I think maybe my flower poems are coming because now I can like see the color more, right? Like I was just telling my wife, we were walking around and I was like, yo, everything seems brighter now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we live just outside of Atlanta, and we have this balcony. It's like, yo, look at all of these birds. We went out and bought binoculars so that we could look at these birds.
Shout out there, bird
right?
watching.
Right.
Okay.
So like, and I know that doesn't happen if I don't get to a point where I'm open to accepting help to help me to unpack all the different experiences that I've had. And
That's
even with that, right? Even with that, I recognize how challenging it is for me to open my mouth at times and ask for help from the people who I know love me and are supportive and would move heaven and earth for me. But I'm still like, you know, a knucklehead American man who wants to just kind of do things, you know what I mean? Like, and so like, there are times where I have to just be like, yo, this is a bit ridiculous. What I can tell you, and this is like another interesting thing, and it speaks to the way technology is changing. So like my executive functioning issues, some of the ways in which they show up is, you know, like I got a difficult email I got to write, you know, to a client, you know, or something like that. And so I'm sitting, and a lot of times it's like, I don't know, there are 3 or 4 different ways that I can attack this thing, and it's like untangling it. I got to the point now where I put it in Chat GPT. Hey, Chat GPT, I got a client that I got to respond to, this, that, and the other, right? Like, here are the things I'm thinking about. What do you think? And then it just starts throwing out scenarios. And oftentimes it's just me having a little support around sort of untangling or hearing what I think kind of back, you know, and it's again, one of those things that I, you know, of course can just, you know, have a conversation with, you know, a colleague or my wife or somebody else, but it allows for an extra degree of independence. And that's an interesting curve around technological support. Like I remember as a college student having to sit down with a human being to help me with spell checking, right? Because, you know, I don't know if y'all remember, but back in the day, like you spell it wrong, you get the little red line, and then you have to click, and it's all the words and the subtle consonant and vowel differences between those words. Oftentimes I couldn't pick which the right one was. So I would still have to sit down and have a human being look over what I had read to make sure that I picked all the right words. Now it's just like highlight, speak, I'm listening. Oh, that's the wrong one. You know, it's speech to text, and I can say the word that I want. And so it's like, there are the people out there that I could still rely on, but the technology has become such that I have even greater independence where I can get more done. So, you know, I don't know what the world's going to look like, you know, for your kids as they get older, you know, like, I get very easily distracted. You know, back in the day, I got headphones on, right? And I'm playing John Coltrane and this, that, and the other, because I need sound to block out everything that's going on around me. Now it's like noise canceling headphones. Everybody's rocking headphones all the damn time. It's like a norm, right? You know, I'm assuming we're gonna have glasses and, you know, like screens on them, and, you know, like and those sort of things.
Technology getting crazy.
Yeah, it is. It
really is.
So yeah, so it's kind of like I know I'm like all over the place with the answer, but like it's I think technology is amazing, but I think it's also important that you have someone in your corner that you can talk to, you know, if that's something you need.
Thank you.
That's important. That's really important, man.
Okay, gonna go to the comments section real quick. Poessence said, how do you navigate accommodation for neurodivergent individuals in the workplace? And she also says, as someone who has a career in the field of assisting individuals with special abilities, I will agree. Tawana Wilson said, this is so true. You have to learn how to you have to learn how to ask for help to know that it doesn't make you incapable. It makes you human. Yes, I tell my son that all the time, Tawana Wilson. My mom, Barbara Marie, said, amen, Tawana. And Donna Banks said, excellent podcast. Thank you all. Good night, she said. Good night, Donna Banks. And that is all of the comments so far. So I guess going back to what Poesson said, how do you navigate accommodation for neurodivergent individuals in the workplace? LeDerick.
Okay, so a few ways. So just kind of speaking as a person who's neurodivergent, and then I'll also kind of talk like as an employer, what I expect to hear from the people that, you know, that work work with me. So one thing is, I don't think anybody should show up and say, yo, I got a problem and you figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
So I think as self-advocates, as neurodivergent people, it's our responsibility to at least have a sense of like, what are the supports that I need when I'm doing this job. Come up with a list, right? And I have a video course that I developed, and you can check it out on my website, LeDerick.com. And it's really meant for educators and family members to give them tools and activities to help their kids. But like part of what I have in there is a script around disability self-disclosure. So like, I think, first of all is practice how to have that conversation with the employer, what it is you want to ask for, be really open and honest about what your challenges are, and then come up with some possible solutions. I advise people like that's not a conversation you want to just kind of have out in the middle of your job with all your colleagues listening, like if it's, if you've identified like a manager or supervisor or someone who can give you the supports that you need, like it's a private conversation to have. And I oftentimes say to folks, one, it's because you don't necessarily need everybody to know your business. But oftentimes I have found personally, and then also with the people I work with, once you start opening that door and say, yo, this is how I'm made up, you don't know who else is a part of the club. And they may want to have a conversation, or they want to talk about their kid or their grandkid who's got a similar label. The other thing is, and it like language is important in this too, right? There is the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, right? And so I'm okay with language like neurodiversity. I'm okay with like differently able, difference, and this, that, and the other. But if you want legal protection here in the United States, that comes to you as a person with a disability. And so you need to be really open about like that is it. What is the label, right? I have dyslexia. I have a learning disability, specific learning disability. I can say to someone like, I need a spell checker and don't ask me to read out loud and this, that, and the other. I can outline all the different kind of supports that I need. So, I think those are that, that's some pretty sound advice without knowing specifically what's going on. And, I can't give specific advice because I don't know you, and what your specific situation is, but that's just some general guidelines. I think that's a pretty good start.
I also agree. I agree with that.
Yes, I agree as well. Okay, Heru, you have any more questions for LeDerick or Linette? I see you sitting in the cut, chilling. Like what?
Yep. One question for LeDerick and then one question for Linette. Again, a lot of our, well, this is a two-part question. How do we get parents to understand their role in helping their child with special needs, which is very important? How do we get parents to understand their role in helping their child with special needs? Because a lot of parents are in denial or neglectful in a sense. And I'm speaking as an educator and as a uncle. I've seen it in my own family. But then when that child becomes an adult, they still have special needs. And I'll just be specific. My niece is having an issue at work because they won't give her hours, and it's partially due to her special circumstances. How does she get an advocate if her parent isn't on it? So that's LeDerick.
That's discrimination.
Yeah. Great question. I wouldn't go straight to getting an advocate, right? Like I'm of the school, of the my background and my experience. What I say, folks, is like it's on your niece to have the conversation with their employer, right? So I don't know if that's happened or not, right? Like, But to be open with the employer around, hey, this is what my challenges are, and then here are the things that I need in order to be successful in this job. Now, if they're a jerk, right, and she's already done that, then you can turn up the heat. You may have an ADA lawsuit, or something like that may be the next step, where you can reach out to an attorney. But if it's like, I'm struggling and I just need help here, like I would just want to make sure that your niece is really articulated clearly to their employer, what their needs are. As far as the family piece is challenging in that, there are many disabilities that come about through like environmental, circumstances, or like trauma to the body or that kind of thing. But like a whole lot, like vast majority, I don't know if I would say that, but many disabilities actually have a genetic component to them, right? So I think my dad was probably a little dyslexic. I think my mom was probably a little dyslexic, and so they got together, and now I'm very dyslexic, right? Like and I say this to say that oftentimes when it comes to that first step of parents being able to start advocating and really showing up and pushing for those supports for their child, they oftentimes have to wrestle with their own past, right? Their own experience, right? The issues that they've dealt with. That, or we're of a generation where there are folks who remember what special ed used to be like. It was the kids at the end of the hall or in the basement or in the portable trailer in the back of the school. And so, if an educator comes, it's like, yo, I think your kid, might have a disability. We need an evaluation. They can get supports, this, that, and the other. Sometimes there's a lot of resistance because they remember what was, let's be honest, like segregated settings that kids used to be subjected to. And I think it's a natural reaction of a parent to not want to subject their kids to that. And I personally think the onus is then on the school system to come up with ways to be able to really articulate what those supports look like now. And that's, hopefully they've changed, right? Hopefully they're not still on, old school ways of performing, right?
Yeah, that's bias.
Right. So, some of it's like the parents coming to terms with their own thing. And then the other piece of it, and I mean, it's like unfortunate, but I don't know anyone, particularly people of color, who don't navigate through the education system or the workplace environment without just like really educating themselves, reading a bunch of books, understanding what their rights are, right? Like developing a plan, right? But oftentimes it takes a lot of reading and going to seminars and and conferences and connecting to different groups. And then I also think that like if you're at a point where your kid's in school and has an IEP meeting, I don't think any parent should go to an IEP meeting alone. You should have somebody with you, and I don't care if it's just like your girlfriend, right? It doesn't have to be like an advocate, like quote unquote advocate, right? But just the emotional experience of having to support your kid, like you're going to be in kind of like mom or dad mode. And you oftentimes need someone who's a little bit more removed from that to really be able to help you navigate what's going on. But my first kind of earnest is always, what do we need to do to empower our young people to be able to speak up for themselves? Because mom and dad ain't always going to be there. Uncle won't always be there, right? They need to know who they are, what their challenges are, what they need for support in a variety of environments, so that they can stand up for themselves, so they can be nimble, and be able, because like things are going to happen. There are things that we can't even imagine that are going to go down, with our kids. And so they need to be able to learn how to navigate that in a way that works best for them.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Absolutely. Linette, being from, you said you're from the Caribbean. Which island in particular are you from?
Well, I'm always a funny story. So I was born on St. Thomas, United States Virgin Islands, but I
Okay.
lived in Tortola, British Virgin Islands.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with that being your background, how does your poetry reflect English, American English versus British English?
Well, that has always been a struggle for me because I did my schooling in the British Virgin Islands, and then when I went to the University of the Virgin Islands
Right.
in St. Thomas, then I had to remember, okay, you need to take out the U from neighbor and the U from labor. And then by the time I came back to BVI to work, then I had to remember, you need to put in the U, you need to. But typically, I would say I more write in the American English because I submit my work to a lot of journals, and a lot of them are based in the US. But even if I put in the British spellings, they don't reject my work. So it's never really been a challenge from the poetry standpoint, at least not yet.
Okay, but how about it in the comprehension of poetry spoken? Because of course there's a lot of poets in England and use British English, but do you ever get, I guess, a little, you know, thrown off from the American English, in slang versus, so-called proper English dialects and things like that?
I would say no because I guess being here, we interact with people from all over the world. And of course, me doing poetry on an American platform or a British platform, I'm going to speak standard English. But definitely, when we're talking amongst ourselves here in the Caribbean, we have our own dialect that, and certain things I would say, you guys would be like, okay, what did she just say? But I haven't had any issue with it, and I perform in online readings with people in the UK, US, sometimes as far as Australia or New Zealand, and it hasn't been an issue for me being able to comprehend. And I guess because of music and TV, watching British TV, and of course watching a lot of American TV, I think basically becomes second nature. And then I have children who are teenagers, well, 18 and 20, so they're into, they listen to Young Dolph and Ed Sheeran and, Nicki
Mhm.
Minaj. All of those are part of their playlist. So they know all the slangs, from the Jamaican slangs, the BVI slangs, the USVI slangs. They don't really have, people in the UK, but I do readings with people in the UK. So I would say it's not a challenge for me at all.
Thank you for that. Okay.
That's cool.
All right.
Absolutely coolness.
Indeed, it is. So we're nearing the end of Live with Miss Kier. So before we end, I would like to hear another poem from LeDerick and another poem from Linette.
Absolutely.
So we'll start with you first, Linette.
So I have two poems. I'm trying to figure out which one to choose. So I'll tell you guys the title and then you choose which one. The first one is Over Sexualized, and it's not erotica.
Oh man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm still reliving of the ice cream. I'm sorry.
And the other piece is called People I've Met Along the Way. So I'll let you guys choose which one.
I would say the first one, but you kind of blew that in there. I'm sorry. my eyes got open. I was, whoa, that was real? Here we go again, Miss Kid. Are the kids asleep? All right.
Oh, you definitely don't have to worry. It doesn't go down that road. And it was inspired.
No, it's a good road. I'm just saying,
It was
follow the
inspired.
yellow brick road. Shoot, I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
North Philly still thinking about butterscotch poem.
Yeah. Some of the ice cream is still dripping in my mouth. I'm trying to tell you. Whew, man.
Ooh.
So this
Mm.
piece was inspired. The title came from Mario's The Strategy, the Poet Franklin, part of Legendary Inc. And it is over sexualized. I'm not your piece of chicken, so keep your eyes and hands off my breast, legs, and thighs. Because you can't stuff me with your empty words and sexual innuendos. I'm not your piece of chicken, so there won't be any fingers or licking because I'm a good girl and my mission is to educate the world. I'm not your piece of chicken found in any run of the mill establishment. I am the one that they will comment. She's a lady who looks fine, ages like fine wine, but takes her time to keep herself in check. I'm not your piece of chicken, and I'm not afraid to reject your useless advances. So keep your eyes and hands off my breast, legs, and thighs, because I'm not about living in the lifestyle of being over sexualized. Thank you.
That was live. That was live. I love that John.
Comments for Linette Rabsatt.
Yes.
Yes,
Dope.
girl. Yes. Okay. Ooh. And
Now I want some chicken and ice cream.
before Lee Derek presents his last poem, I'm gonna go back to the comments real quick. Poessence Spoken Word said that's a good question, Heru. Poessence also said try an employment specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Estelle Marie Nelson is in the building and she said, great conversation. Excuse me, educator, student, and parent of dyslexia. Thank you. Poessence said, amazing show tonight. Thank you, Poessence. And she said, Mz.KIR after dark. I was talking about after the party, Poessence. We was talking about that because after Butterfly did that ice cream poem, we was talking about
Some rotisserie chicken off. LOL.
and
Oh.
Tawana Wilson said LOL, and Poessence gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 finger snaps. Tawana Wilson gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 snaps, and fire emojis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And Poessence said rotisserie chicken not found over here. Poessence, did you hear Butterfly's ice cream poem last week, girl?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
That's all I gotta say, girl. Okay, all right.
Check the rerun. I'm just saying, check the
Yeah,
reruns.
check the
That was.
rerun. Check the rerun for real,
I'm
Poessence.
trying to tell you. Whew.
Okay.
Sheesh.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Lee Derek, uh, can you do a poem for us, please?
Yeah, I'll give one a shot. I haven't done this in a while. So this is Nina. It's on my first album, and if folks like what they hear, they can go on Spotify and iTunes,
Oh,
and
I remember
I have
that
All
poem.
right.
I have
Hey.
I have,
All
uh,
right.
I have 2 albums out.
All right. Let's hit it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give this a try. If I mess up, I'll do something else. So this is Nina. If our firstborn be a girl, let's name her Nina. Let's name her after the woman whose voice filled us, left hope on our doorstep, and made us want to be free. Yes, our firstborn should have the name of a dreamer. May she speak in song and never weep. We'll hum her a love supreme lullaby and hang microphones from her gazebo. She will know that the dark is nothing to fear, no, nothing to fear. May her hair and eyes be as dark as the night sky she was conceived under. She will be kissed, held close to the truth. And in time, she will want the freedom that her parents never knew or saw, but dreamt of as we whispered in the night. We'll embrace her like the sky. Let's wrap her in blue and bathe her in sunlight. And every day we will tell her she is beautiful. And every day we will show her she is beautiful. So as she grows, she will know that she is beautiful, no matter what the television says. We'll teach her to dissect the world with the sharp, sterile tools used by scientists, and having soapboxes glued to the soles of her shoes, may she speak of revolutions with a poet's rhythm. And every so often, let's place her at the center of the solar system so she might practice governing the bodies that revolve around her. Yes, if our firstborn be a girl, let's name her Nina.
Oh, whoa.
That was my favorite poem from your album, LeDerick. I love that one. Thank you for
Beautiful.
Yeah,
thank you
shout
for
out to
doing that one.
shout
Yeah.
out to Monica McIntyre, who played cello on that on the
Oh
album.
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Monica.
And where can people get that album, man? Hit that again
Yeah,
for the people.
yeah, it's on iTunes and Spotify, so folks can listen.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Incomparable.
Thank you.
Yes.
Joel, I need to run. I gotta go.
Okay, LeDerick. Well,
Oh,
thank you so much
hey,
for
LeDerick.
coming on,
Beautiful man.
presenting your wonderful
Appreciate
poetry, and giving great information. We greatly appreciate it. And we
Yes.
have to have
Powerful
you back
poetry.
on for part 2.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank
No
you,
doubt, no
brother.
doubt.
Yeah, man.
I
Good to
need that.
see you,
I
brother.
need that poem too. When you get home, send me that poem.
All right, no doubt. All right, y'all. Stay strong. Peace.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
y'all.
Peace.
All
Same
right,
to
Night.
y'all.
you. Peace.
Okay, Linette. Uh, do you have any shout outs you would like to give? Oh, wait, before you do the shout outs, let me read the comments one more time. One more again. Darlene Letsum is in the building. She said, well, sir. Poessence said, I have to check the rerun after this. Yes, you do, Poessence.
Yeah.
Um, Darlene also said, good conversation, though, with the hand clap. Tawana Wilson said, wow. Poessence gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fire emojis with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 mics. She said, I love this one. Tawana Wilson said, I love this one. She also says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 finger snaps. And my mom, Barbara Marie, said, thank you, LeDerick. Yes, so those are the rest of the comments for tonight. And so, with that being said, Linette, do you have any shout outs that you would like to give?
Oh, definitely, I have shout outs. So the first person I'm going to shout out is Darlene. And when she said, well, sir, that is one of the slangs that we say. So when somebody says or does something that's a bit, So like my poem, when I said the over sexualized, she was like, well, sir, I wonder what Lynette's coming with next. So I just wanted to interject that. But also, big shout out to my family, to the poets in Legendary Ink., the poets in Calling All Poets series, in the Cultures group, to Alice Ink Pen, to Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, everybody who has supported me. Oh, and by the way, I have a big shout out. So a big shout out to Black Eyes and the National Spoken Word Awards.
Yeah.
If you are listening, please vote for me for Best International Artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, follow me on social media because I have a whole long list of persons that I have been, sharing and trying to promote as well. Nelly V, Papi's Poetry Corner, Angel Kim Mac. There's a lot of beautiful and wonderful talent out there. And I have to shout them out and say, oh, please vote for my fellow poets. They work really hard and they really do try to inspire people with their work. So I want to say thank you, of course, to Mz.KIR and the awesome team. Hey, you guys have been wonderful. Call me anytime and I will make myself available. I love this show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Lynette,
You're
that was
welcome.
nice. That was
You're
beautiful.
very welcome.
I want some
Um,
chicken, Lynette. Rotisserie if necessary. I mean, don't have to be KFC. I don't like KFC too much. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. You know.
um,
I'm sorry.
can you guys mute your mics, please? Okay, Shy Moonlight. Do you have any shout outs that you would like to give?
Of course, I'm always going to shout out my poetry family, all of the kind of southeast, but all over. Shout out to the tree. Shout out to Peace, Poetry, Entertainment, Arts, Community, and Education, the nonprofit, and Strength, Courage, and Wisdom, my specific initiative for mothers and children. New Danger Arts Collective and my slam team, Slam Nubian. We will be in Knoxville next week for Southern Fried Poetry Slam. So all the love and positive energy y'all want to give us is welcome and appreciated. Yes. And peace to all of y'all. Thank y'all so much for everything. Always Mz.KIR. It's always a vibe over here with
Yes, it
Mz.KIR.
is.
Yes.
With Miss Kier, breezy, just breezy. Okay.
Yes.
Some more comments. So let's see. Poessum said, "Have a good night." Oh, I'm sorry, I read that already. Darlene Letsom said, "Thank you. You already know I'm always in support. Blessings, Miss Rabsatt." And Lynette said, "Thank you so much. You're very welcome, Lynette." Um, Heru, do you have any shout outs you would like to give?
Of course, shout out to my lovely partner Fantasia. She's in Mississippi right now. Um, so big shout out to her and family reunion. Shout out to all my old poetry partners, Hip Hop Meets Poetry crew, Unstoppable Unity, and the whole Jersey. And big shout out to my new crew, Poetic Gems here in Las Vegas, and my people, Truth Spot, the Truth Spot Experience here in Las Vegas, and all the poets that we represent on this here side. And to all of you guys, if you ever in Vegas, please look me up, and I will make sure to have a spot ready for you as far as poetry is concerned. To come do your thing.
All right.
Let's be specific when we say spot.
Exactly, exactly,
You got a place a brother can lay his head, bro. I'm just saying.
I might have a little couch for you, but we got to work something out.
It worked for Biggie and Pac, I think, at one time.
Yeah, right.
Oh, North Philly, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to all of y'all, man, especially Miss Kier. Once again, having the Black Ed McMahon in the house. Yes, you are correct, sir. Shout out to LGP Qua, who recently passed. Rest in power, my brother. Shout out to my grandkids. Y'all may not be watching this, John, but hopefully, y'all catch it one day. And know that Pop Pop is always on point. And shout out to peace, unity, and love, man. Because we all need it, and Philly especially needs it. So, shouts out to that. And I'm out.
Okay, well, Dynamite. Well, I like to give a shout out to the Writers Block, the OG Writers Block, and the newbies of the Writers Block. Teresa Hazeleyes. I don't know where she's at tonight, but shout outs to her. Um, Also want to shout out my son, Big Dude K, who is going to be graduating in another week. Going to high
All right.
school. He going to
All
high
right.
school. I'm not ready. I'm not
It's
ready.
going to be all right. You're going to make it.
Shout out to my firstborn, T Noodle, the retired poet with an old soul. She's been in retirement for many years now. She says she's not coming out of retirement, but she did a good run from age
Oh,
2 to 9.
okay. Okay.
She did a good run. She's 25 now. She did a good run. um, Shout out to my mom, Barbara Marie. Shout out to Donna Banks and Tawana Wilson, Poessent Spoken Word, Darlene Letsom, Maya the Bee. Want to shout out Genevieve, pal. Where you at, Genevieve? And thank you, LeDerick Horne and North Philly and Linette Rabsatt and Shai Moonlight and
Nice.
Haru, you got to check out Butterfly's ice cream poem.
I'm trying to tell you, it's going to change your life.
Okay, got you.
I'm saying, I'm so serious. It will change your life, brother. You will never look at ice cream the same. I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, yeah, that part. Oh,
You gonna go by the ice cream section in the supermarket and be like, man, I gotta give me some ice cream with sprinkles. Can't forget the sprinkles, bro.
um, shout out to my guest last week, Maya DeB and Heavenly Harmonies and Lady Crucible. Lady Crucible is gonna be on next week. Her and Sean Battle. Yes.
Oh snap! Okay.
Um,
Uh,
and let's see who else. Oh, of course, Ray Cerrone, Jay Silent Night. Shout out to Ray
ah.
Cerrone. And shout out to Rosalia. And let's see who else. Bob Bidon, the Bread is Rising Poetry Collective. And the list goes on. My cousin CJ Wright, because his birthday is coming up soon. And oh yeah, my cousin Saranya Lewis. Shout out to her. She also has a birthday in the month of June as well. Um, and my cousin Isha Yakov. Shout outs to you. Cuzzo, where you at, Cuzzo? Um, and let me think. Let me think a moment. Okay, just you get a shout out, you and whoever I didn't shout out, everybody get a shout out, okay? Thank you so much for taking the time out again to watch another episode of Live with Mz.KIR because we was breezy once again up in here.
Yeah.
Okay, we breezy every Friday night, 9:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8:05 Central, 6:05 Pacific. Live with Mz.KIR. Join us for the breeziness.
Yes.
And again, July 19th. 5:30 p.m. The Writer's Block. Long live the Writer's Block. The Writer's Block open mic in the park. 5:30 p.m. July 19th, Donaldson Park, Highland Park, New Jersey. We will be in Grove 3A. And if you want to hear Rosalia sing, because she's going to be singing, come on
Absolutely.
down.
Got to
Come
be there.
on down. Okay, yeah, you got to be there. So oh yeah, and shout out to June B. He's gonna be on the following week. And the week after that is the online open mic. So if you want to be on the list, let a sister know. Okay. The online
Yeah.
open mic part 4, June 27. Okay. So if you want to
On
be
and
on,
popping.
yes. Okay. And last week had 1.1K views. So that open
Phew.
mic was fire.
Fire
Okay.
ain't that. Listen,
Fire.
fire is being complacent.
Fire,
That
son.
John
Okay. Man, Maya the B.
backdraft.
Okay.
Backdraft.
Lady Crucible.
Towering Inferno.
She wasn't playing. Butterfly.
Woo! Hot.
Linette Rabsatt. Okay.
Absolutely hot.
Heavenly Harmonies. And North Philly, he took us back with the hip hop. Okay.
Uh, you know it.
We was breezy. So that concludes all the announcements. Thank you again. And don't forget to share this, like and share this because sharing is caring and caring is sharing. Okay. And with that being said, this is Tanisha, aka Mz.KIR, capital K, capital I, capital R, the poetic lyricist representing the Writer's Block Poetry Collective. Long live the Writer's Block, established January 21st, 2009. Love, peace, hair grease, and edges. Okay, see the edges? Edges matter. Do not let nobody tell you that edges don't matter.
They
Look,
absolutely
edges
matter. Yes.
matter. Okay.
Yes,
And with
absolutely.
that being said, be breezy and hold on to those edges, folks. Peace.